Hello everyone and welcome back here to Lucky Loaders 15, where I'll be giving you 4 of my best tips for tomorrow's racing, where we'll be focusing on the action at Warwick, and also as well I've got my nap to give you guys which runs at Lingfield. Before we get stuck into them, I just want to go through a few things with you. First of all, if you haven't done so already, make sure you hit the subscribe button here to my YouTube channel. I really appreciate all the support you give me, and if you're liking these videos as well, please remember to hit the thumbs up button. So that's out of the way. Also as well, make sure if you haven't done so already, you listen to the latest episode of the In the Saddle podcast, where I was joined by the usual suspects of my co-host Mark Karosky, Katie Clements and Paul Callahan. The team were in good form for this week's edition, where we were looking ahead towards the ITV racing at Warwick and the Market Rasen. So if you want to hear the guys' picks, make sure you just hit one of the links in the description box below. We've got all the major podcast platforms covered, including the likes of Spotify, Apple, Soundcloud, whichever one takes your fancy. Just make sure you hit one of the links in the description box below, and hopefully we can have another good week, because on the podcast last week, my fellow pundit Paul Callahan napped Bore and Bill to win the Lanzarote hurdle. He obliged and won at 66-1. And also as well, Mark was very confident on the chances of Secret Reprieve, and he was advertised at 5-1 to win the Welsh National. So there was 2 good naps there last week. Unfortunately, in the trio, out of all of us, I let us down, because my nap last week was on the blind side, and he finished in second place at 14-1. So yeah, I let the side down last week, and I'll probably let the side down again this week for the podcast. But if you want to listen to those tips and more thoughts and analysis, just hit one of those links in the description box below. Also as well, I just want to go through on how today's tips performed. In the end, it was a disappointing day. We just had the one tip that ran for us at Newcastle, Primo's Comet. Didn't really get the ride I was expecting. Ollie Stammer's actually got this one in a handy position, which really this horse doesn't like. He doesn't like being up there near the pace. He was just tracking the pace, so just off the leaders at the start of the race. And also as well, he was running on the wrong part of the track, because if you were watching the racing at Newcastle today, you had to really be down that stand side rail. It was kind of a golden highway, and all the horses that were coming to the fore were over on that side of the track. And also as well, not many horses were coming back from off the pace today. Quite a few horses that stayed that went from the front stayed there at the end. So yeah, it was a bit of a front runner's day today, I think, at Newcastle, and it just didn't suit him at all. Arnett Busy Street was a non-runner, so that was unfortunate there, but I think if he had turned up, he would have taken all the beating in that race, and it did show, because it was a real stamina test up the home straight, and we know Busy Street has got a lot of stamina up his sleeve. And even though Manjam was a worthy winner, I think the race was kind of thrown to him, because the Midland Park horse never turned up on the day, who was really well fancied in the betting. So yeah, very disappointing day today on the whole, but we had a good day yesterday. And also as well, we had a 12-1 winner earlier in the week at Doncaster, so it hasn't been a bad week, a bit better than the week before, but still we could be doing slightly better. And like I said, I've got 4 tips for tomorrow's racing, and if you've actually listened to some of the In the Saddle podcast, there's a couple of selections in here that I've changed my mind on. But when we were recording that, because I've been working at Sky Sports Racing the last couple of days, we had to record it earlier in the week, where we normally record on a Thursday. So apologies for that. So we didn't know the final fields at the time. But these are going to be my 4 tips for tomorrow's racing. And it's going to be a bit of a Ben Pauling love affair tomorrow. I'm going to be putting up 3 of his selections. Now, I'm not going on the fact that he's in decent form, and we had a 12-1 winner provided by him earlier in the week. It's just I liked all his horses that he was running, and the profile for all of them in the races that they were running in. So let's get into them then. So the first one tomorrow is going to be my extra tip, the 225 in the Ballymore Leamington Spa Hurdle, Grade 2 Novices Hurdle. Always a good contest, this one, and I thought Ben Pauling might be able to win this race again with his runner Optimise Prime for David Bass and Ben Pauling. He's currently back at 22-1. Has been really weak in the betting tonight, but I can't understand why. But if these horses are taking a bit of a walk in the market, it wouldn't put me off at all, because if you actually look at Ben Pauling's form at the moment, he's in good nick. He's had 4 winners in the last fortnight, and some of them have been at big prices, and some horses that have been at big prices have been running well too. So it wouldn't concern me at all. Now this horse, Optimise Prime, reminds me of a horse that he won with a few years ago when he won this race, and that's Willoughby Court. And Willoughby Court had a similar style because they both like to go from the front, these horses. They've both been handy, or I say Optimise Prime has been like Willoughby Court in the sense that he's been handy on both his starts so far, where those wins have come at Hereford. And after winning this race, Willoughby Court went on to win at the Cheltenham Festival when it was known as the Neptune. So it could be shades of hopefully Willoughby Court here tomorrow. But like I said, with Optimise Prime, he's won both his starts at Hereford so far. He was a 50-1 outsider when he won, but he was no fluke, and there were some nice types in there. The first three in the race were well clear of anything else. Emma Lavelle had a nice horse in there, and so did David Pipe. And I don't think it was a bad race at all. He then went and won under a penalty at Hereford on his next start in testing ground, so that's going to suit him tomorrow. And if you actually go back and watch the race replay, yes, he didn't win by half the track, but he never really got out of second, third gear, you know. And when he was asked, he went and did it, you know, and he stayed on strongly at the line. And I think he could probably even get further in tripping time. So if David Bass can get into a good handy position tomorrow, start making the running, I think he's got a great chance of going very well in this race, and they might not be able to get past him. I think he could be a game, genuine, straightforward type of horse, and just in a race of this nature where there's quite a few like sexy types, and the fact that they are unbeaten or they're coming off a win, they might not be able to progress like he can. Maybe Optimise Prime can't progress, and some of you are thinking, why the hell am I putting up this horse? I'm not going to be backing him. But I just think there was a lot to like about the two displays we've seen so far at Hereford from Optimise Prime, and I think he shouldn't be underestimated at all in this market. And with Ben Pauling horses running well at the moment, I think you've really got to sit up and take note. And the conditions should be in his favour as well. A lot of rain forecast, possibly some snow as well in the area at Warwick tomorrow. So it's going to be really, really testing. And I just think when you add all of those into the bargain, no way should this horse on form be at 22-1. And I'm willing to take a chance there. So as my extra tip of the day tomorrow, he's going to be recommended at a 0.5 each way bet. We then go for my next best to the 3 o'clock. The classic handicap chase, grade 3, and because I've already said I'm going to be putting up 3 Ben Pauling horses tomorrow, you know what it's going to be. I mentioned this in the Saddle podcast as well, and that is Lebroy. You can currently back this horse at 6-1 at the time recording with Bet365, and I'm going to recommend a 1 point each way selection here. Now I'll be disappointed really if this horse couldn't go and win this race tomorrow. He's become a bit of a cliff horse for me. I've backed him quite a few times in the last couple of years, but he just keeps drawing me in, you know, and I can normally find an excuse to why he didn't quite run up to his back class, you know, because if you go through his form, it's well documented that he showed a great attitude and a great stamina reserves when he won the National Hunt Chase back in 2019 at the Cheltenham Festival. And ever since then, he has struggled a little bit, but he still has shown from time to time his ability. You know, he's run some good races in defeat. He actually finished 5th in this race last year off a mark of 148, but the race didn't go to plan that day at all, and he was hampered quite a few times, so you can definitely forgive him that run. He's now down to a mark of 140, and I think the long-term plan with this horse is to run in the Grand National. The connections have said it, and he's going to probably need to win this race tomorrow if he's going to be getting in at the weights. You know, he probably wants to be rated at least in the high 140s, or maybe even 150, you know. But yeah, Lebroy, he's really well handicapped on a lot of his old form. He ran really well as well for a long way in the Beaches Chase, where he just got tired at the end. But he's had a wind up since then, you know, so that might just hopefully put him spot on for this. I don't think this is a particularly strong renewal of this race as well. I think it's below standard. The one that I would be worried about is Alan King's horse, you know, is the right horse towards the top of the market, and is a really progressive, improving type. Captain Chaos might be able to bounce back, but he hasn't really shown too much at all this season, despite him running really well in this race last year. But I think he could be vulnerable to one. But I just think Lebroy is now or never. This is the last chance to lean. He'll probably end up finishing third, you know, and getting our each way money. And I'll probably want to back him next time out. You know, he's one of those kind of horses. But tomorrow is do or die with Lebroy, and I think there could be a lot of support for him tomorrow. And I think he could maybe fight it out for favouritism. I think a lot of people will be supporting him too. And I just think with all those things added into the bargain, I think tomorrow hopefully will be his day. So fingers crossed Lebroy can do it in the 3 o'clock. The classic handicap chase at Warwick. We then stay at Warwick for the 3:35, and again we're going to be going with another Ben Paulin horse, and this is going to be my long shot of the day in the 3:35, the Potom's Network handicap qualifier. Obviously these races, a lot of people hate them, but I actually really like them. I like the fact that we have a handicap where if you finish in a certain position, you then are eligible to compete at the Cheltenham Festival, because sometimes I think you see some interesting rides, and also as well you see some interesting types. And the horse I'm going to go with tomorrow, I think has a great chance and shouldn't be his price at all, and that's Ben Paulin's The Captain's Inn, which is currently available at 33-1 at the time of recording. You can currently get 4 places with the likes of Paddy Power and Betfair, so I'm going to recommend a 0.5 each way here as my long shot of the day. Now, Keelan Woods tomorrow is booked in the plate for Ben Paulin. I should have mentioned as well earlier that Keelan Woods is going to be taking the ride on Lebroy, but the Captain's Inn, yeah, you're going to have to forgive him for his last run at Chepstow, but I do think he shaped better than the bare form. If you actually look at the race, he was running well for a long way, but he just blew up in the home straight, when he was just starting to be asked for an effort. But that was his first run since he ran in a Grade 1 novices hurdle at Aintree back in 2019. And that was a really hot renewal of that race. You had Champ, who's an RSA winner. You had Lisnagar Oscar as well, who's the Stairs hurdle winner. So it was a hot contest, He was 33-1 in that race, but he didn't quite disgrace himself for a long way until he was pulled up through a couple of mistakes, and also as well a couple of horses did interfere with him. So he did have a couple of excuses in that race at Aintree. But if you go back before those last couple of runs, he won some decent races. He won a novice hurdle, giving weight away at Uttoxeter, and he won the time before at Leicester. He's by Flemingsworth, and to me, from what we've seen so far, he just shapes like a real stayer, and I think he'll like the slog tomorrow as well. And he's been dropped £3 by the handicapper for that latest run. He was at 130 at Chepstow, but like I said, it was just one of those runs that you could tell he needed the run, and he would strip a lot fitter next time out, and he was one that I would be keen on to keep on side. Also as well, another factor I should mention is that Chepstow form has actually worked out quite well, because the winner of that race, Exploiter, for Graham McPherson, ran a good race last week in a Class 2 handicap at Chepstow, and the second place horse, Gustavian, was our winning up yesterday at Fontwell. So the form has taken a boost to somewhat of an extent, but I think the Captain's Inn off a low weight here can go close, and I think he's better than his mark of 127, and I think it speaks volumes that Ben Paulin is going to be taking a chance in this race. You would have thought off a mark of 127 they could have had more easy winnable races for him. So for me, I think the Captain's Inn shouldn't be this price at all. Ben Paulin's horses as well, like I said earlier, have been running well at big prices. We had a 12th one earlier in the week. That's not putting me off at all. I just think this horse, yeah, he could easily disappoint. But I think the prices, I think he shouldn't be that price, and a lot of people I think will forget about him in the market tomorrow. And even if he drifted out to 50, 66-1, I'd still be quite happy to back him. Like I said, Paul Callahan had a 66-1 win in that last week, and when he put it up on the podcast, it was actually 20-1, and then drifted out like a barge. So stranger things have happened at sea, as they always say. So the Captain's Inn tomorrow. Don't write him off your shortlist, because I do think he has a good chance, and I think he is definitely better than his mark of 127. So that's going to be my long shot of the day. I'm really sweet on his chances tomorrow. We then go to the Nap, which runs on the flat on the all-weather for the last race at Lingfield tomorrow, the 3:45. Now, in this race, we're going to be going with Sirrodneyredblood for John Jenkins and George Bass, claiming a handy £7 off the horse's back. Now, this horse, Sirrodneyredblood, has been running some good races of late, and I thought he ran okay at Savile last time on the fibre sand, which isn't his ideal surface at all. He'd run there a couple of times before, but hadn't shown a liking for it. But he bumped into an improver that day called Nick Vedder, who won his previous start, which actually came at Savile. So he bumped into an improving Savile specialist. So I think that performance should be marked up. The time before that as well, he finished in a close third place at Lingfield. So he has been running fairly well, and I think returning to this track tomorrow will really suit him. Actually, he's he's a double course and distance winner, so that's not a problem at all. And John Jenkins' horses have been running really well at the moment, actually. He's actually had 2 winners from his last 11 runners, but he wouldn't be the most prolific stable in the world. But if you sit up and take note of the yard form and look at them a bit deeper, I think there's a lot to like about Sirrodneyredblood tomorrow in this race. And with that £7 as well, I think that's definitely another positive. He's still a 4-year-old as well, and even though he has had a bit of racing, he could still be open to a little bit more improvement as he matures over time. So I think there's lots to like about this horse tomorrow. It's not a particularly strong race. I know a few of you might like the Roger Till horse, and there's a couple of others in here that you might be able to give chances to, but he's currently 9-2 in the betting, where I don't think he should be that price at all. And if I was pricing him up, I'd have him more in about 5-2, 3-1 kind of price. So I do think 9-2 is a great price. And as my nap of the day tomorrow, I'm going to recommend a 1-point win bet on Sirrodneyredblood. So there, the 4 tips for tomorrow's racing. If you haven't done so already, like I said at the top of the video, please make sure you subscribe here to my YouTube channel. Also as well, remember to give us a thumbs up. And if you want to follow me on social media, the best place to do so is using my handle at LuckyLoader15. And if you want to find out a little bit more about myself, check out my website, which is www.chrisloaderracing.co.uk. So please game responsibly. Hopefully we can have some winners tomorrow, and we'll be seeing you soon.